From now on, this is the Moon and Kiona Stan account.
There seems to be a trend in the RuPaul's Drag Race cinematic universe where the season 2 of most franchises ends up being exceptional. Drag Race France season 2 is no different. Bonjour, je m'appelle Snakehole-Macklin. J'ai une adolescence britannique stupide et j'ai regardé Top Drag Race. Okay, full disclosure, I have not seen season 1. So I do not know if season 2 was better or worse. But what I do know is that the season was great. We had a great cast, great challenges, great lip syncs, a great finale, and best of all, a great winner. However, all of these qualities do not always necessarily make for a great season. For example, All Stars 8 had most of these qualities, but that season still lacked that special something. I made a whole video explaining why All Stars 8 didn't work, and you can check that out right here. But Drag Race France season 2 definitely worked, and you can tell just by the IMDb ratings alone.
Episode 1, 9.2. Episode 2, 9.4. Episode 3, 8.5. Episode 4, 7.6, but that's mainly because people were upset that Peach left, I guess. Episode 5, 9.7. Episode 6, 9.4. Episode 7, 9.3. Episode 8, 9.3. And Episode 9, the finale, currently 9.8.
Drag Race France Season 2 is currently the highest rated season of Drag Race ever on IMDb, with an average of 9.1 stars per episode. So today, we're going to be going through the season episode by episode and dissecting what made Drag Race France Season 2 the, in my opinion, the best Drag Race season of 2023. Everyone knows that one of the most important parts of a season of any reality TV show is the contestants. When this promo dropped, so did my jaw. There was not a single bad look in this promo. The three queens that stood out to me were Moon, Kiona, and Rose. I mean, Rose's promo look was everything. June 30th and the first episode drops. The first queen to walk into the workroom was Mami Wata. Then we had Sarah Forever, Ginger Betch, Moon, Kitty Space, Peach, Rose, Cookie, Vespi, Kiona, and Punani. And instantly we get a sense of who everyone is. We learn that Moon is a trans woman. We learn that Kiona is a legend in the Paris ballroom scene. Look, most of this video is going to be me praising Moon and Kiona. So right now I want to focus on Rose and Punani. So when Rose walks into the workroom, she tells us that she is in a drag duo with Punani, and that she is, excited to be doing something without Punani for once. 400 years later, and would you look at that? So this makes Rose and Punani the second drag duo to complete on Drag Race at the same time, after Sugar and Spice.
But what about Kitsa and Anita?
That's what I thought too, but Kitsamine and Anita Wegler are not a drag duo. Let me explain. There is a difference between a drag duo and two drag queens that do a lot of things together. Kitsa and Anita do things together, but they also do things separately. Same goes for Trixie and Katya, Jinx and Dayla, and Bob and Monet. The general audience doesn't only know them as a 2-for-1 deal. Sugar and Spice and Rose and Punani are known for doing everything together. I mean, Rose and Punani have the same Instagram account. Before season 15, you wouldn't have seen Spice without Sugar, and before this season, you wouldn't have seen Punani without Rose. I know it's confusing, but just deal with it. So, when I saw this episode, I watched the first half, then I went out, and then I watched the second half when I got back. And while I was out, I was thinking, are they going to pull a Sugar and Spice on Rose and Punani? Wouldn't it be crazy if one of them was to go home super early, and then they'd see how far the other one can make it on her own? I get back, I watch the rest of the episode, and would you look at that, Punani is in the top, and Rose sashayed away. So the first challenge was the girl groups, which I don't normally like as the first challenge, but this one was actually pretty good. Every queen got their moment to shine, and everyone outside the bottom three I thought did a really good job, and could have justifiably been in the top. And then they followed up with a great runway. I mean, I don't know what the hell Rose was wearing, but all of the other looks were stunning. Like, everyone was raving about Vespi's look for the next week. Sarah did a great job in the challenge, but I would have given it to Kiona. But, I did agree with the bottom three. I would have switched out Kitty for Ginger in the bottom two, but Rose still would have gone home, sadly. And this started a recurring theme in the season of every elimination, for me, hurting really bad. I mean, you've got a good cast when you feel so connected to the queens that go home super early. Episode 2 was the Legendaire talent show. Ginger became the first queen to succeed at doing stand-up in a talent show. Peach gagged us all, and Kiona did that. Moon, will somebody please talk about Moon? Her talent show was bloody phenomenal. I don't know, maybe I'm just very, very attached to Moon because we both have brown hair and freckles. But, okay, look, I don't care what you will say, Kiona was robbed big time in that talent show. Like, Peach did great, and I'm not like discrediting her or anything, but Kiona did that. Sadly, we say goodbye to Vespi here, but she made an impact on the audience, and people are probably going to be talking about her wasp look for years to come. Episode 3 is the cringy improv challenge of the season, and I would say it's generally one of the weaker episodes in the season. For one, the judging was whack. Now, I don't know if it was because I'm fairly new to non-English speaking Drag Race, but normally when you hear the judges laughing at a queen's performance in an acting or improv challenge, that means they're doing good, right? Right? Now, I don't know if it's just me, but the judges didn't laugh at Sarah Forever's performance. You know who they did laugh at? Moon, who was safe for the third week in a row. I can't be the only person who thought Sarah was in the bottom that week. Looking at it again, she actually did do a lot better than I remembered, but I still have no idea how she won. For me, she was a solid safe. I wouldn't have minded had Moon been in the top at least once at this point. Look, you could argue that Moon wasn't as great this week, but you could imagine my frustration at seeing my favourite queen not getting recognised by the judges. I was worried because, my favourite on Drag Race Mexico was Pixie Pixie, but, she just kept getting overlooked by the judges, and then they sent her home the first time she messed up. I did not want that to happen to Moon. Look, I know I'm being a little bit harsh at the moment, but this is a retrospective. My job here is to criticise as well as compliment. I mean, zero disrespect to Sarah as a queen or a person. I fully blame production for the way judging this episode. And I'm always going to criticise production because there is no such thing as a perfect Drag Race season.
But what about All Star 6? What about UK 2? What about Season 9?
No, because while they are great seasons, they are not perfect. Because production can't keep their nosy little fingers out of our mouths. There is not a season of Drag Race that is 100% perfect. And there never will be. Then we have the Snatch Game, and look, I don't care what the rating was, I absolutely lived for this episode. So they do this crazy mini challenge where the queens are paired up and they're tied together, and they have to go, and they were wearing wedding dresses, and it was literally a three-legged race mixed with fetched, mixed with musical chairs. Then of course we had the Snatch Game, and I liked the Snatch Game. I don't know who on earth everyone was playing, but I still really enjoyed it. The obvious standouts being Kiona, Moon, and Punani. Punani played this woman. Who was she playing? I don't know. Punani played Amanda Lear in front of her, and that was a big risk. And we've learned in the last 700 years of Drag Race that taking risks doesn't always pay off. But for Punani, it did, and she ended up winning. And the runway that week was everything. There were so many good looks. and ginger bitches. But, Peach is being an obvious standout. Hey, speaking of Peach, so remember when Oreo posted that picture of the Oreo with the rainbow filling in support of Pride Month and all the homophobes lost their mind and tried to boycott Oreo instead of just accepting that that's the harsh reality we live in right now? Yeah, that was essentially the fandom's reaction to this episode. But instead of Oreo, the company getting boycotted was World of Wonder, and instead of posting a picture of a gay cookie that doesn't exist, they eliminated Peach. People are upset for a lot of reasons. Yeah, I had to change rooms, and look, I know it's kind of a mess, but don't worry, we're working on it. We're working on it, okay? Hopefully next time I do a video like this, it will be cleaner. Drag Race fandom confuses me, because they don't care about favouritism if it's affecting their favourites, and they only care about mistreatment if it's affecting their favourites. Peach did not do well in Snatch Game, and while I agree that her runway could have saved her, I'm not going to say that her bottom placement and her subsequent elimination wasn't fair. In all honesty, I think the sole reason that Ginger was in the bottom was because of her runway, and that's the main other thing people were mad at. People were saying that Cookie should have been in the bottom, but the thing is, even if Cookie was in the bottom instead of Ginger, Peach still would have gone home. I think people were frustrated because as much as we grew to love Cookie by the time she actually went home, at this point in the competition, she'd been in the bottom twice, and she was just generally seen as the next to go queen. Also, because, she didn't exactly do well in Snatch Game herself. But when you think about it, this was actually a great moment for Drag Race France. Because there's just so much Drag Race. We naturally assume that when a person with a challenge win falls into the bottom super early, that they will win the lip sync no matter what. Example, Simone. Because it's quite rare that someone will be sent home that early if they've won a challenge, even if they lose that lip sync. And if they are, it's a total gag. Example, Astina Mandela. But through this shock elimination, the fandom came together to scream at the top of their lungs that Peach was wrong for the next week. But this was a lesson for all future Drag Race contestants. If you fall into the bottom and you have to lip sync for your life, whether you've won a challenge or not, you better lip sync for your Trinity the Tuck in life. And ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, that brings us to the creme de la creme, the eighth wonder of the world, the pumpkin spice and all things nice. Drag Race France, Season 2, Episode 5, The Musi Drag. The best way to describe this episode is to imagine Madonna the Rusical, Joan the Rusical, and Wig Loose all mixed up into one. Everything about this episode was chef's kiss. At the start of the episode, Punani says that she's feeling a lot more relaxed now that she's won Snatch Game, which is great foreshadowing for what would happen later on. Then we have Kiona, who is on her last nerve after missing out on a challenge win for the 4th week in a row. Then we have Ginger, who is gagged that she's still there after winning the lip sync against Peach. The queens take part in a very fun mini challenge where they have to stick their hands into boxes of various disgusting things to retrieve a key to open up the padlock of Pandora's box. And by Pandora's, I mean the pit cruise. So Kiona finds the correct key, and so she has to assign the rules for Le Bosso di Notre Dame. So Kiona gives herself the lead role, and Mummy plays the baker, Ginger plays Esmeralda, Cookie plays the narrator, Punani and Sarah are the twin gargoyles, and Moon decides to show a new side to her by playing the big, evil, masculine dad character. There's a very sweet moment while they're putting on their makeup. Well, Moon opens up about her fears of thinking she overestimated herself, and that this role might bring back her gender dysphoria. And then Mother Kiona tells her that she's very brave for doing what she's doing, and so they have a very sweet moment before the main performance. And then it happened, and Mama, everybody slayed, and at the end, tears were shed. Nikki told the queens herself that she was very proud of them, and that she saw herself in Quasimodo, and the character represented so many queer people who have spent their whole life just waiting for their moment to shine. And she's absolutely right. At the end of the day, we're all just queer people, and it's important now more than ever that we are there for one another, because it's a scary world out there right now, and it's up to us to change that. This musical is for all gay, lesbian, bi, trans, non-binary, etc. people out there, as a reminder that, with fingers crossed, things will be okay. Eventually. Hopefully. And then we have the runway, and everyone was a toot. There was not a single bad look. I'd say my least favourite was probably Ginger's, but even that was great. But people, the best part of this entire episode, after 4 weeks of
Kiona, you did exceptionally outstanding this week. You are everything we asked for and more. Somebody else in the top. Felicitations, you are the winner this week.
it finally happened. So Ginger and Punani were the bottom two, and oh yeah, Ginger was upset with Cookie because she felt like she'd been robbed. That was brilliant. And so Punani enters her lip sync assassin era, and we sadly say goodbye to Ginger Bitch. And thus ends one of the greatest Drag Race episodes of all time. It's up there with UK Hum for me. So that brings us to episode 6, and oh, hold on. Alright, I'm back. And so that brings us to episode 6. The Time Ball, which aired on August the 4th, 2023, aka the day my heart broke. So the Maxi Challenge was the ball, a classic challenge in the Drag Race universe. The queens have to present 3 looks on the runway, a look resembling one of their past idols, one representing the future, and a prom look, which they have to make from scratch. The ball was fine. I don't think that it's going to be one of those balls that we talk about for years to come, but there was obviously a few standout looks, such as Cookie's futuristic look and Kiona's prom look. Now, I want to talk about Moon again, but before I get on to my 8th Drag Race heartbreak, I want to talk about her critiques. So, after Mummy Wata announces that Grace Jones is dead, according to her, Moon gets her critiques. Now, I thought I was going insane the first time I saw it, but looking at it again, I definitely wasn't, and I'll prove it, because I wrote down exactly what Moon's critiques were. When you arrived with the dress that I called Esmeralda, you had a very strong attitude, and here, you're a different person that has a characteristic of all the great performers. I love to see you reclaim your origins and your legacy. It's an episode too late, but here's your Disney Princess Esmeralda. The 1,000 scarves that protected you, that was a success. And then they just talked about her family. Pretty good, right? So 3 critiques later, everyone is done. Everyone has been critiqued, and the only person who got any negative critiques whatsoever was Sarah Forever. And then Nikki asks the dreaded question, who should go home tonight and why? And Punani says that the 2 queens that got the worst critiques were Sarah and Moon. And I'm like, huh? When? Now look, sadly I do agree that if we're bringing it down to the little details, Moon probably was the second worst in the challenge, but if you're going to put someone in the bottom 2, at least tell us why they're in the bottom 2. And even in deliberations, the closest thing she got to a bad critique from Nikki was that her look didn't match the theme of prom, even though they told her that her last look showed her versatility, and that's what all the good performers do. I just thought it was confusing. I mean, it's a minor thing, but it just really bothered me as a Moon stan. There's a double win between Kiona and Cookie, which I feel the same way about as I did with River Medway and Theresa May's double sachet on UK3. It wasn't undeserved, but it was unnecessary. In the ball, I think the last look carries the most weight, and so I thought Keona's was better than Cookie's, but I don't really mind because Cookie did do really well overall. Okay, so then Moon. In Untucked, Moon reveals that she's not been feeling too well. She thinks she's overshared, and she's just feeling overwhelmed by wearing her mother's dress, and because her mother was sick, and all the dysphoria came back to her from playing the dad character the week before. So before the lip syncing at Sarah starts, she tells Nikki that she needs to go home. And of course I respect her decision, and while I would have loved to see more of Moon, mental health always comes first, and so I'm extremely proud of her for doing what she did. Moon, tu es incroyable et tu j'adore. Episode 7 was a weird one. A good episode, but still a weird one. So the top 5 have to form a girl group and perform to one of Nikki's songs against a girl group formed by Rose, Vespi, Kitty Space, Peach and Ginger Bitch. Now, Be Luck Boy did a great TikTok about this episode, and I don't just want to repeat what he said, but basically to sum it all up, Peach was the only one that actually looked like she was fighting to come back. Also, did Peach's bodysuit remind anyone else of Utica season 13 finale look? Just me? Okay. I did think that based off of critiques, Mami Wata was going to win, and I think giving her the win here would have probably justified her not being in the bottom 2 the next week, which we'll get to. But I do think Sarah's win was fair, because her runway was exceptional. So, the best of the eliminated queens, Peach, lip-syncs against the worst of the remaining queens, Cookie, and can I just say this was a brilliant idea, because that way they're both fighting for different things. It's just a cool twist on the lip-syncing for your life. So Peach wins the lip-sync and Cookie goes home, and look, here's the thing. I didn't mind the twist. It was very similar to All Stars 3. Look, I don't usually mind a good comeback challenge in a season of Drag Race. My only issue with this twist was that it should have happened an episode or 2 earlier. Reason for that is, if Peach were to survive the next episode, which was the semi-final, then she would have ended up in the finale having not competed in all of the episodes. And I know that happened with Art Simone and Kelly Roller, but they came back more than one episode before the finale. Because you see, production can only hide their rigging to a certain extent. So, if they want a returning queen to make it to the finale, when there's only one episode left, they can easily rig the episode to either keep them out of the bottom 2, or make them win the lip sync if they do badly, in order to get them to. However, if there are multiple episodes left before the finale, and the returning queen keeps doing badly in those challenges, then it becomes even more obvious to the viewer that they are determined to get this returning queen to the finale no matter what. So, overall, the episode was still fun despite it being a little bit weird. It was nice to see Peach back after all. Oh, also, I get that Moon wasn't there because she just quit, but I wonder, what would they have done if, say, hypothetically, she did the lip sync and went home against Sarah? Would she have been in this episode? Because then it would have been a group of 5 against a group of 6, which is not equal. What do you think? So, for the semi-final, the queens have to make over rugby players, and I don't need to spend too long on this because I just want to get onto the finale, but Peach goes home again, no surprise there. And to all the people who think that Peach was robbed the second time, no she wasn't. It's one strike and you're out if you're a returning queen. Well, it should be anyway. Peach's partner looked like a rugby player who was in drag for the first time, when the challenge was to not make them look like a rugby player who was in drag for the first time. So, Sarah wins the challenge fairly, and Keona, look, I feel like this is the only episode where she couldn't have justifiably won the challenge, but with this episode, Keona became the first queen in history to never place below high. And usually if someone was to say that a queen made it to the end being in the top every single week, they would assume that that queen was being favoured, but nope. And that is how you know that Mother Keona is a superstar. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about Mami Wata, because Mami Wata made it to the finale, and I think she deserved to make it to the finale. However, she never won any maxi challenges. But, oddly enough, she also never lip-synced for her life. However, she also placed low 3 times throughout the season. And while I don't think she necessarily deserved the first 2 low placements, this week I thought she was very clearly in the bottom 2 over Punani. Because the main justification for Punani being in the bottom 2 was her partner's wardrobe malfunction. And looking at it again, I can understand why the judges didn't really like Punani's outfit, but we've seen already that she's a great performer that could send Peach home. But Mami Wata, every time she was in the bottom, she'd be like, if I'm lip-syncing tonight, then I'm going to put on a show. And it would hype up the audience to see her perform. And then she'd be safe. I don't get why the producers wouldn't let her lip-sync for her life, even though she claims to be so good at it. I'm not saying that she was favoured or anything, but it reminded me a lot of Silky on season 11, who every week would be like, put me in the bottom and I'll gladly lip-sync for my life. Of course, in Silky's case, when she eventually did end up lip-syncing for her life, it ended up being arguably the worst lip-sync of all time. But for Mami Wata, I just don't get why they wouldn't let her show off her performing abilities. She wasn't going to win the season, so it wouldn't hurt to just let her have this moment. So, we enter the finale with 4 amazing queens who all deserve to be there. And I think it was pretty obvious to most viewers that Kiona and Sarah were the top 2 of the season. And this is why the finale was so exciting. Usually, the person who has won 4 challenges would be the obvious pick to win, but not this time. While the majority of the fandom was rooting for Kiona to win, there was also a fairly large Sarah Forever fan base. So, we still had the idea that either of them could win, because they both had winner-worthy track records. And so, when the finale came, it was everything I could have asked for. I really like the finale format where all of the queens perform to their own songs, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a very open lip-sync for the crowd hater, but I also do need to appreciate the eliminated queens. Oh my god. Like, the eliminated queens all came out in their finale eleganza, and they all look beautiful. Particular standouts being Vespi and Peach. So, the queens do the performances. Kiona and Sarah Forever announced the top 2 queens of the season. Nikki interviews the eliminated queens, and one of the most beautiful moments for me has to be Moon getting a standing ovation, because she deserved it so much. And to quote the movie Wonder, everyone deserves a standing ovation once in their life. I mean, was anyone surprised when she won Miss Congeniality? I don't think so. And so that brings us to the final lip sync between Sarah Forever and Kiona to Titanium. I've seen some people who honestly thought that Sarah had a chance of winning after that lip sync, but I'm sorry, that was a murder on the dance floor by Mother Kiona. Though, in all fairness, I get the guy who composed the song or whatever was French, but the song is still performed in English, and I'm not exactly sure if Sarah speaks English, so I don't blame her for messing up the words a few times. Regardless, Kiona is crowned, everyone rejoices, and the world is good again. Honestly, the fact that my 2 favourite queens of the season end up getting the 2 big titles of the season just completes my French vanilla fantasy. I could not have been happier with the outcome of this season, and with 9 weeks of intense build-up, the overall lovability of the cast, and the crowning of one of the greatest drag queens ever walked the earth, is why Drag Race France Season 2 ended up being the best Drag Race season of 2023, in my opinion, and one of the best Drag Race seasons of all time. I am Janet Snakehole-Macklin, and I approve this message. Thank you so much for watching this video. Did you enjoy Drag Race France Season 2 as much as I did? If not, why? Feel free to share your opinion in the comments. As long as not hurting anyone, that is. Again, thank you for watching, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I will hopefully see you next time.